So the thumbnail you see in this video that you're going to see for the entirety of the video was designed by an amazing artist by the name of Jordan Smartimus Prime. I will leave a link to check him out down below. He is incredible, and he did this in just a couple days, so check him out. But yes, folks, we are talking about the Dragon Ball Super movie. Now, the movie is coming out in about 8 months. We're about 8 months away from the film being out in theaters in Japan, and really what I think most of the conversation has been when it comes to the movie is not so much the plot or the art. I mean, that's all been talked about, but I think the big one is the villain. Who's going to be the villain of the Dragon Ball Super movie? So we're going to talk about this here on this video, and we're going to discuss the possibilities of who the villain may be. Now, joining me, and the clues, of course, joining me to discuss this, of course, the king of the wacky theories, the Zeno of the wacky theories. Please welcome Real to Real.
What's up, Geekdom? Always pleasure to be on your channel. Thank you for having me, man.
No, thank you for being here and taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule as a lawyer / film director, the two most opposite jobs in history. You know, you might as well be a stripper too, you know, to talk about Dragon Ball. So, all right, Saiyan versus Saiyan. Now, it's pretty clear based on the promotional material that the movie villain will be a Saiyan. Right, because we see in the trailer Goku's fighting this guy, and the whole thing said, you know, Saiyans have no limits. Now, the thing that a lot of people are gravitating towards is that the villain of this film will be Yamoshi. That's like the top theory. And that the guy we see in the trailer is Yamoshi. And of course, this is all based on the fact that Toriyama told us the story of Yamoshi, you know, back in late 2017. And now we may finally get a part of that story on the big screen. So, what do you think will be, when it comes to just Yamoshi, right? What do you think the possibilities are of him actually being the villain? And elaborate on possibly, you know, what his motivations might be.
I feel like with Yamoshi, and I really don't want them to do this, but considering what we know about the Super Saiyan God ritual, and the very fact that the creation of Yamoshi, as far as we're aware, based on what they gave us in the anime, the movie, and all the lore that we've had throughout Dragon Ball Super, Yamoshi should be a good guy, right? I really fear that if they do this movie and they make this guy Yamoshi, the guy's going to be good. We're just going to have kind of the same thing we had with Battle of Gods, where we had Beerus, who might be stronger or weaker than Goku at any given point, be it Yamoshi or Beerus or whatever. You have this guy who's fighting with Goku simply as a master-student role, and there's no real stakes in the overall fight. If we're going to get a Saiyan versus Saiyan match, Goku versus Yamoshi, there needs to be stakes there. There needs to be some general tension. You know, say what you want about the Broly films, there was some tension in what they gave us.
I like the idea, too, that they survived and wanted to repopulate Planet Vegeta. That wasn't a bad idea, in my opinion.
No, I really like that idea as well. And the one thing I think they could do with Yamoshi, just going off of what they gave us from Dragon Ball Super, I would really like to see it in one way, is we all remember Goku having the red form and then turning back into a Super Saiyan form, and then they specifically said in the movie and the anime, you retain the power of the Super Saiyan God in your Super Saiyan form, your body adapted to it. Obviously, this isn't something that's just unique to Goku. This is just what Saiyans are capable of doing. What if Yamoshi was good, but then he became evil with power? You know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Once you awaken your body to that level of strength, what does it do to you? Well, we've seen what it does to everybody that we've encountered throughout this entire series. That would be a unique story. Someone who started good and became evil because of their strength.
He got so consumed with his own, you know, his own power. Sort of like, maybe not Vegeta was never good, but, you know, same thing. Like, he became so narcissistic that he wound up being evil, and maybe he wants, you know, some kind of power. Now, another possibility is that it's not Yamoshi, but it's Yamoshi's enemy, or at least like the original Super Saiyan God's enemy. You know, if you go back to Battle of Gods, they talk about how, you know, there were some rogue Saiyans that had, you know, gone rogue, I guess you can say, and then they had to obviously summon the god to help them. So it could be possible that this character, this villain, so to speak, is not Yamoshi, but maybe Yamoshi is in the film, but maybe he's there to guide Goku against this new threat. Because again, we don't know if the guy in the trailer is Yamoshi.
No, we don't. And I really like that idea too, specifically because in the movie version of Battle of Gods, they told us who Yamoshi was actually fighting against, and they showed us the silhouettes of Yamoshi fighting these Ozaru forms, Saiyans.
But yeah, well, wait a minute though. But that was written way before the. I'm just saying.
I know. I was gonna preface that. Yeah. So that was the movie in general. But the television show, this movie is a Dragon Ball Super movie. Ipso facto, we have to take the television show, the lore of the television show, as the template of this movie. The movie never explained anything. All it said is that the Namekian Book of Legends understood what the god, a Super Saiyan God, was actually about and how to create it. We never understood who actually achieved that form and for what reason. They can recreate the story there with this movie, and I think it's a perfect opportunity to bring back the threat of what the Saiyans were in Universe 7 if they were to wish back, or maybe just someone's around for some unspeakable amount of time, just biding their time in order to fight Goku and Vegeta or someone else down the field. Like, that would be cool in my opinion.
Yeah, and then we have to also explain that there was some debate about whether or not Yamoshi was the Super Saiyan God, only because when Toriyama had described it, they talked about how, he basically got defeated, he ran out of energy, and then his spirit continued in search for a new savior, Super Saiyan God. So it's like the way that Toriyama wrote that, and there's been a lot of arguments in the fandom about this, it's not really clear if Yamoshi channeled the Super Saiyan God power, or if he actually went around and was looking for the other one. But it does also say that the Namekian Book of Legends recorded the information about him, so then that makes you think that it is the Super Saiyan God because of what was said in the series. But I always felt that translation was a little strange, you know what I mean, coming from Japan or from Toriyama. Now, what if it's not Yamoshi or Yamoshi's enemy, but what if it's somebody from Yamoshi's time, like, before Planet Vegeta, when Planet Sadala of Universe 7 was inhabited? Because one thing I can tell you about the new upcoming video game, Dragon Ball Legends, is that the new Saiyan in that game is not going to be the villain of this film. But the story about him being a Saiyan from a previous time or from an older time, I think is going to be a major factor in this. Pre-Frieza. We're talking about before all that stuff. And I feel like that is a compelling story about where has this guy been. This guy's older than Vegeta in some cases.
Yeah. I feel older or from some other time. I think, and I know a lot of people might give me flack for this, but I really think that you need to bring up time travel again. I think it would really well connect with the time travel aspect of Dragon Ball Super, which admittedly, in terms of the overall story for Dragon Ball Super, was just kind of like thrown in there. There was no real reason for the time travel being brought up again, or the fact that it was taboo, or that, this is...
And also, and just real quick, in the manga, they mentioned that there's a Universe 12 time travel. It's never been said in the anime, but I mean, that could also have something to do with this, even though I doubt it.
I that's exactly what I was getting at, is they did imply pretty heavily in both the manga and the anime that this has happened before. And it wasn't just Trunks who came back and forth and whatever in time. Maybe it was a Saiyan. We don't know what happened to the Saiyans. Vegeta explained to Kaba in Dragon Ball Super, look, we used to have Planet Sadala, then it was like civil infighting until we destroyed our own planet. We had to move to this planet for the Tuffles or whatever you consider the canon there.
That's right. And what became Planet Vegeta.
Yes.
No, that was part of Toriyama's manuscript for Z.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know, and they have full range to sit there and tell us either in this movie or in other, information or something down the line that Planet Sadala in Universe 7 was peaceful and very advanced. Maybe, just maybe, they had, or someone figured out time travel, and this is where that guy comes from. That connects him to a time closer to Yamoshi's time, and also making someone who's more connected with the Saiyan mythology than someone like Vegeta. That would be amazing to explore, and also a great way to tie in one of the major plot threads that I don't think ever really went anywhere from Dragon Ball Super, directly making this a Dragon Ball Super movie.
Well, what about the idea of a Universe 6 storyline. You know, with maybe, you know, them rebelling or somebody on universe. Maybe this villain is from Universe 6. I mean, it looks like he has a tail in the trailer, even though I don't. It's not clear. I've seen people debate this. I don't know if it's a tail or just he's wearing a certain kind of clothing, but he could legitimately be from Universe 6. We've been introduced to that before. So, I mean, I could totally see them having him be from Universe 6. That way they have a reason to have Kaba, Caulifla, and Kale in this movie, too. You know what I mean? Have them throw them in there. Bro.
I think if it's a Dragon Ball Super movie, I think they have to throw in Kaba, Caulifla, and Kale and any other Universe 6 Saiyan that they can to really express the fact that this is Saiyans fighting Saiyans. We're making a huge deal of it. I mean, back in the day with Dragon Ball Z, they used to do movies just to kind of explain, look, you know, Android 13 was just about having 3 Super Saiyans in one movie, and then Broly was about 4 Super Saiyans in one movie. People wanted more and more and more.
And a Super Namekian.
Yeah. So this is something that they can give us, you know, the most Super Saiyans you've ever seen in one movie, and we're going to throw it in your face. That would be cool. Plus, I've always been a big supporter of this, and I know it's incredibly fan fiction-y, but in Dragon Ball Super, as I already said here, they mentioned the Book of Namekians, the legendary book or whatever.
The Namekian Book of Legends.
And they mentioned that, but they don't mention any context for it. I think it would be a great way to showcase that the Namekians from both universes are actually connected to one another. And in fact, Yamoshi or the Super Saiyan God legend and all that other stuff is actually connected to Universe 6 more than it's connected to Universe 7. And the dragon is actually talking about that Namekian Book of Legends and not the Namekian Book of Legends of the Namekians in Universe 7
That's a good twist.
That we're actually kind of connected to. That would be a really easy way to explain why Vegeta has no idea what the Super Saiyan God is and only knows about the Super Saiyan.
Right.
And also a great way to explain why Kaba and the Saiyans of Universe 6 don't have any idea about Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan God or that power, because as I already mentioned, Yamoshi possibly, or someone possibly getting the power of a Super Saiyan God might be overcome with that power. What would that do to a society that was able to take down that person who became so obsessed with their power and their strength that they were becoming a tyrant? Maybe if you take that person down, you want to kind of take away all that history about yourself, and that's why they never discovered that power in themselves.
What about the idea that this villain could be from one of the 6 destroyed universes? Now, I covered this previously on after Dragon Ball Super Edition. We talked about that, like, you know, briefly though. But now we're talking about the film here. You know, again, it could be. Now, here's the thing that could also be something that they might throw at us too. The villain of the film might not even be a Saiyan. It could be that at some point during the movie, Goku fights this guy, but maybe the actual villain is a different creature or a different entity, and maybe at the end they have to team up against this entity. I mean, that could also be the case too. You know, just because we've only seen that one teaser doesn't mean that's the final villain. That could just be a villain, and then we find out that there's a real secret mastermind behind the scenes. That could also be the case too. But do you think that the 6 destroyed universes could have some kind of factor in all this?
I think they need to. And I'm going to just be like pretty plain and blunt about this. I think they need to, because even after Dragon Ball Super ends, even after everything is left on the table and we know exactly the plot threads they picked up and the things they left behind throughout the entire series, that one, the very fact that there are 12 or 6 other universes on top of the 12 that we already knew, that completely upends the twin universe, the 13 rule that they established just, you know, episodes earlier. It piques my interest. I want to see why those universes were erased and what importance they might have in the future. And like everyone says, like, you have the opportunity to do that after the Tournament of Power and all those universes were wished back. It wouldn't be too out of the ordinary or extreme for them to just sit there and say, look, those universes came back too, and now we have this bigger threat that was erased for a reason, but because of Goku being Goku, it's back and ready to get vengeance on top of the entire multiverse. That would be a compelling story, and something, if that's the case, could lead us into a new series or any other thing that they want to do with it. More movies, more manga, spin-offs, all these other things that they could do with that. That is an exciting prospect, in my opinion.
And they've already got enough new characters now with Tournament of Power bringing in so many new people. So let us know in the comments. I don't want to hear just Yamoshi. please give me something different. Give me like a unique idea that you may have about this villain. Even if it doesn't come true, even if you think it's a little outlandish, let us know in the comments any ideas or theories on the villain, or tell us what you want to see from the film. I would love to hear that. Just what you fantasize of this movie kind of being, you know. And maybe I'll do a community response video on Facebook or Twitter, or maybe even on here, and read some of the responses. Do you have any other final thoughts there, reel to reel?
You know, I really don't know. I really think that one of the things that we need from this movie is to have a Saiyan versus Saiyan fight that makes sense. I know we've had it before with Goku and Vegeta, and that's one of the things that drives the story forward. But Broly, as much fan service as he gets and people love him, that story pitting Goku and Broly against each other with some kind of internal vendetta just didn't make sense. If we bring back a Saiyan to fight Goku, I want there to be some reason in top of the entire mythology that makes it matter. And whether it's Yamoshi or Saiyan from Universe 6 or any of the other things that we talked about in this video, I want them to connect it to Goku somehow. Goku has to fight this person either because he messed up or because this person is after the Super Saiyan gods that are out there. Maybe someone who wants to get rid of the Super Saiyan gods or something. I mean, that's something we didn't talk about. Maybe not Yamoshi's rival, but someone who saw Yamoshi become this tyrant, as I've talked about, and got rid of him, and now sees other Super Saiyans getting the same type of power and wants to rid the universe of those Saiyans.
Multiverse.
The multiverse of those Saiyans who get this power but doesn't realize that Goku is actually like a really good guy who wouldn't do anything with this power, you know, wouldn't hurt a fly. And that's how they end up being friends at the end. I'm not sure, but that's what I want to see, a connection between these two people, not just a fight.
Yeah, no, that's the thing I will say is as much as we know the movie's going to look great and feel great and, you know, hopefully sound great, obviously the fight's going to be great, I want a great story. That's really what I want out of this. So thank you, and we'll talk to y'all very soon.